on the Cambridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Varsity House Birdfeed on the Ball State Cambridge Network. Here is your host, Joel Godett.
All right, we are back at it with another edition of the Birdfeed Live presented by Varsity House. We are here at LA Pittenger Student Center on the Ball State University campus, broadcasting on YouTube, on the ISC Sports Network across the state of Indiana, and also on demand on the Chirp Cast podcast feed. Mike New is not here. Bryce Cosby is not here. They are both on a bus. The Cardinals are headed to Akron to take on the Akron Zips in football tomorrow night. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off on the CBS Sports Network and on the Cambridge Radio Network. It'll be the Cardinals and Zips at 6 o'clock with our countdown to kickoff presented by Northwest Bank, and then a 7 o'clock kickoff from InfoCision Stadium. James Whitford joins us presently, though. We'll have two coaches on the program this week. Talk some men's hoops. We'll talk some women's volleyball. We'll talk volleyball because they're on a roll right now. We'll talk men's hoops because their season opens on Wednesday night. The Cardinals will be home 7 o'clock inside Worthen Arena. So, Whit, good to sit down and talk with you here.
Great to be here. And great to be in front of some people that can actually get a chance to come to our games, which hasn't happened for a couple of years.
I was going to say, it's a different environment. You have said to many people this year already that the last time we allowed fans in the building, Ball State led the Mid-American Conference in attendance.
Yeah.
That thought, I'm sure, has not been far from your mind.
Yeah, I'm eager to get – it was an unusual year last year. I'm eager to get some people into the stands and support us. We were practicing the other day when Kelly's team was playing Bowling Green, and I could hear the fans. They were loud, and I'd love to replicate that same thing.
That was electric on Thursday night. We'll talk about Ball State Volleyball's win over previously unbeaten Bowling Green. Cardinals are now up to 39th in the RPI this week. That'd be a good place for you guys to be as well. I'm sure you've got grand designs on what this season can be. The fun question about it, because people always ask me, because they think I know something. I have no idea. They always go, Joel, how's the team going to be? And I have no idea. And this year, I really have no idea. Do you have an idea? Because it's like, I feel like to an extent, you got to see a game, and then you get a really good picture, and there's so much unknown, it makes it fun.
Yeah, there's some truth to that, but we're far enough along now. We have had a scrimmage, which I'm not allowed to talk about, but we have had a scrimmage where we played somebody else, and I'll tell you this, we played well, and I think really showed some potential for where we could be this year. We have a lot of exciting pieces. We have 3 really good freshmen, and I think we got a chance to be very good.
3 really good freshmen, a couple of transfers as well. 7 guys that did not play in a game last year are on roster and in uniform this year for you. So I guess give me the grand scope of what this could look like if you take a step back at Ball State men's basketball.
Well, what I would say is, we have a chance to be a very big physical team. We have a chance to be a very good rebounding team, a chance to be hardest scoring at the rim. It's a bigger, more athletic team than we've had in a long time. I would expect for us to dunk the ball more than we've ever dunked it. But who we want to be is a team that can really impose our physicality in and around the basket, be able to dominate with our defense and catapult that into our defense to offense. And being able to turn into points quickly because of our athleticism, because of our length. I think we should be able to do that. And so far, we're off to a good start with that. And it's a really hard-working team, and obviously we got to sustain that during the course of the year.
So we won't talk about the closed scrimmage that may or may not have happened against a team that may or may not have been NCAA tournament caliber in recent years. I don't know. But you guys did play an open scrimmage. You had an open practice where fans could come homecoming weekend. And in one half of basketball, you were on pace to score 120 points.
Yeah, ironically, we did that in our closed scrimmage again, too. We've scored the ball really well in both games. But, we defended better in the second one. But, we're playing fast, and we want to play fast, and that's a good thing. But we're off to a good start offensively.
Who might people not know now that they're going to know when they get in their cars at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night?
I think all 3 freshmen, you're going to see them all on Wednesday night. Jalen Sellers from Columbus, Georgia, Bashir Jihad from Michigan, and Peyton Sparks here from Winchester. You're going to see all 3 of those guys quite a lot this year, and you're going to get to know them as time goes on. I think Tyler Cochran, the transfer from Northern Illinois, has got to have a chance to have a very good season for us. I think he's an impactful player. Demarius Jacobs from St. Louis, I think, is a very good player. And Mickey Pearson, the transfer from TCU, he's really come on here in the last 10 days and has carved himself out into a role, and I think can really help us. On top of the guys that you should know, Luke Bumbleau from Newcastle, Myron Thomas, and Jalen Wyndham. Those are all guys that I think fans here know and will continue to see more of.
May we see Reggie Jones as well in that mix?
Yeah, you will in time here. He's just still, he's still recovering. So how quickly? It's not that I shouldn't say he's still recovering. He's recovered. It's not that he has no issues. He has some, but it's more just rhythm takes a long time. When you've missed better part of a year, year and a quarter for basketball, it doesn't come back in 2-3 weeks. And he's not only got to get comfortable, but he's got to learn how to play with the system and play with other guys and be good on both ends of it. And so there's just a transition that he's not all the way through, but that day and time will come.
The freshman class has been nicknamed PB&J, right?
Yes, by them, by PB&J.
By themselves.
Yes.
They've been allowed to give themselves a nickname.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a really fun-loving group. Like they like to have a good time. They enjoy each other's company, and that's really important. But they also, and you've said this many times, decided that they weren't going to wait for somebody to open the door and give them a turn. Is that encouraging for you as a coach to see guys that have a go-get-it mentality and that are not afraid to take a role?
Yeah, that's the world we live in sports at the highest level. And fortune favors the bold, so to speak. And all three of those guys, I really have great respect for their competitiveness because they're highly competitive, and sometimes competitive can be mean-spirited. In their case, it never is. It's not, they're just trying to become great players. And they put the work in at night. They do the extra work that they need to do. They're highly competitive during the day. And yet they have the humility to embrace not winning. They have the humility to get amped up, compete, and not have the best day. And they handle that with grace. They handle winning with grace. But every time they do it, they're highly competitive in the way they go about it. And to me, all three of them really have a great balance and understand that, in this sport, you get what you earn.
We've, I know during the open scrimmage, the open practice that you guys had, did not have two of your big post players, so it cuts your numbers down a little bit. But how much of these early season games, for you, were a little bit of experimentation, even though you get practice and even though you had a close scrimmage, how much of this becomes, I don't know if fun's the right word, but a fun game of mix and match and like, all right, I got 13 guys, let's play them all, let's see who plays well together, let's see how they react under the lights, let's see how this meshes. And how much figuring out of a rotation is going to happen over the next, really on Wednesday night inside Worthen, but also over the next couple of weeks?
I think honestly at this stage of the game we have a rotation.
Okay.
As we did for the first scrimmage, and we've been toying with it, and it doesn't meet like. Look, if it doesn't change between now and the end of the year, it'd be the first time in my 25 career that it doesn't change. I don't have any question it will change. But we've done a lot of that experimenting, and I think we have a group that we're going to stay with here for a while, and we'll see how it plays out. Maybe maybe we'll deal with some injuries. Maybe some guys won't play well, and not over one game or two game. They've earned it over 3 months. But if they don't perform over the course of time, guess what? Someone else is going to get a crack. That's how it works. And but we've done a lot of experimenting, and I think we're settling in on a way that I think we feel like we can play.
Does that give you confidence as a head coach at this juncture with a team that is that new that you can sit back and say, you know what, I've got a good vibe for what we could look like, at least from who's going to get an opportunity from jump?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we as a staff, we've had so many new guys that we've been looking at it for a long time, and we have a very transparent program. Our guys are told from the beginning what it is we're looking for, and we chart and collect every stat under the sun, and so we have as much data as we can, and we can't toil a whole lot longer now. These games they count, so we got to be able to put our best foot forward and keep getting better as the year goes. What's
the most random or surprising statistic that would not matter to anybody in this room that really is important to you guys as a coach that you chart?
We have one thing we call practice points, which isn't one stat, but we chart everything we do in a live competitive standpoint, so we know how many rebounds you're getting, offensive rebounds, how many steals, how many blocks. How many times you win, your team wins, how many times they lose, and what's your efficiency from 2, your efficiency from 3, and we chart it for us, but we chart it for them. I think it's important that they have the information they need to figure out what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, so they can adjust.
Head coach James Whitford joining us here. Ball State men's and women's basketball open Wednesday afternoon and evening inside Worthen Arena. The women play at 4, the men play at 7. Those are exhibitions. It will count next week. The men will be on the road on Tuesday. Women will be at home, and then the men are at home for the first time next Saturday, November 13th, inside Worthen Arena. James, as you continue to look at all of this, and you've talked about excitement and scoring some points, you've got a new point guard this year. You've got several new point guards this year, but Demarius Jacobs, a guy that transfers in from St. Louis, you talk about being exciting, playing above the rim, highlight potential. Is that all, or are those all words that apply to what he brings to the table for you?
Yeah, he does for sure. He's had a few highlight reels in practice. You know, he's really explosive. And I think the other thing with Demarius is he's a great teammate. He's got a real positive energy. He's a very high basketball IQ, and he told me once he can really learn from watching, and he can. I'd like to him to learn from doing a little bit more, and but he's a very smart player. He's fun to be around. He's a great teammate. He's really positive, and I think he's got an infectious personality.
Let me talk about the one guy that's not on your team, because I said this to David Iha. There might not be any more buzz in the Mid-American Conference about a player who's not actually on a roster right now than you guys get with Luke Brown coming in.
Yeah.
Fifth all-time in state history of Indiana in scoring. He was third in Mr. Basketball voting last year. It's not every day you get that guy at Ball State and in the Mid-American Conference. How big a deal was it that on Friday you guys announced Luke Brown coming to the team?
Big, really big. He's got a chance to be a great player, and he was really good in high school, and I've talked to the coaches at Stetson, and they rave about him, you know. And
he was there for like 3 days.
No, he was more than that because he was there all summer.
Okay.
You know, he was there with the summer. He practiced with them in the summer.
But even that, he's making an impression really quickly
and
on
the fall.
people.
And I think it says a lot about him as a character, and I think it says a lot about the Stetson coaches that they parted mutually in good ways. And I think it's good character people on both sides. And but he's a really good player. Fans are going to love him. He's a highlight reel about every 5 to 10 minutes. He's one of those guys, Herb Sendek I used to work for would say that, you know, we want to guard him the second he gets off the bus. You know, you want to put a guy on him because he can shoot it from there too. Luke is one of those guys.
When you look at his process, when Bracken Hazen was here, graduated last year for you guys, you talked many times about his courtship of like breaking your heart 3 times when every time you would want a yes and he would say no, and then when he called to give you a yes, you didn't have a scholarship for him and wound up walking on and it all worked out. What was the process like in courting Luke? Because I'm sure you were on him very early and did not win the initial battle, but he does wind up coming to Muncie.
You know, the thing that I think stood out to me is, you know, we called him as soon as he got in the transfer portal, and once he figured out that, hey, we really wanted him, just like we did out of high school, I think the recruiting kind of picked up where it was out of high school. We had a real trust built in when he chose to go to Stetson. We a lot like their relationship, parted in really good ways. I knew the coaches from Stetson, told them I thought he made a good choice. He's playing for good people, and I think we just had a real kind of a warmth and a trust within each other that rekindled pretty quickly once we connected.
Not to build up hype too much, but like, what are the odds we might see him in a uniform this year?
You know, I think pretty good.
Okay.
But it's a lot like my son wants an iPhone. He thinks his chances are pretty good, and he has no control. I think they're pretty good, and I have no control. So we'll see how that plays out.
How do you plan for something like that? Because do you have to have 2 plans of what do we do if we get him, what do we do if we don't?
Not really. I mean, maybe as we get closer, we'll start, If we get closer, we'll start adapting for getting him. But, you know, if he comes in December 18th, it's not like...
That's his first day?
Yeah, and it's going to be it's going to take a few weeks.
Sure.
You know, I mean, for him to get really comfortable doesn't mean we can't put him in here or there, but he's got to learn everything. And so that's a bridge we'll cross as we get into December. But right now we got to lock in on the guys we have.
Got
here
a couple
in the
more
first
games
game.
before then, yeah. James Whitford joining us, talking Ball State men's basketball. I don't know if we will get an official answer to this on Wednesday night because it's an exhibition. So on Tuesday night next week, when you walk out of the locker room and you're on the sidelines in Statesboro, Georgia, getting ready to take on Georgia Southern, will you be wearing a suit and tie, or are we sticking with the basketball polo?
We are sticking with the basketball polo.
Is that a change for the positive across the coaching ranks?
I've been waiting for 25 years for this moment. Like there's of the things that really came out positive, we all got to spend more time with our families, and I'll never put a suit on for a basketball game again. Those are 2 great things.
You don't have anything to throw now when you get angry. That's more a Brady Sally thing. But
yeah, it's a Brady thing. I'll adapt easily. I think I've ripped my tie off a couple times. I won't have that, but we'll be fine.
James, I appreciate the time. Looking forward to Wednesday night, all right?
Joel, thanks for having me.
Head coach James Whitford joining us. Ball State men's basketball opens inside Worthen Arena on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We'll take a timeout here on the Birdfeed Live. Kelli Miller Phillips joins us next. Her women's volleyball team is in first place in the Mid-American Conference. The Cardinals right now in line, if all things go well, to host the Mid-American Conference tournament coming up at the end of November. The RPI released today, 39th in the country. That is the best in a decade for the Cardinals. Kelli Miller Phillips joins us next on the Birdfeed Live, presented by Varsity House.
At Northwest, your financial peace of mind is behind everything we do, no matter where you are or where you're going. That's why we created Affinity Checking, 3 accounts designed to fit your life with all the essentials you expect, plus benefits that grow along with our relationship. Our team will help you find the right account and personally follow up to ensure you're happy. Affinity Checking, just another way Northwest helps increase the value of you. Northwest Bank is member FDIC, equal housing lender.
While new vehicles may be harder to come by recently, Stoops Automotive has stocked their inventory with plenty of new-to-you vehicles to help you find the perfect ride. Cars, trucks, SUVs, all quality pre-owned at drive-home prices. And Stoops Automotive has an amazing staff to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Stoops Automotive, East Central Indiana's used car headquarters for over 30 years.
Visit them today on West Clare Lane in Muncie or at stoopsauto.com.
Stoops, we're driven to be the best.
See dealer for details.
Whether you're injured or just plain sick, Community now offers Connect to Care. With one call or online click, we'll find you the closest open appointment. That could be a med check, a primary care doctor, or a virtual visit right on your screen. At the most inconvenient time, Connect to Care is mighty convenient. Just call 765-298-1400 and a community concierge will locate options and make your appointment. Or you can search and set an appointment yourself. Our website is always open. Visit ecommunity.com/connect. The quickest route to feeling better starts with us.
Community Health Network. Exceptional care, simply delivered.
This is the Birdfeed Live, presented by Varsity House here at the LA Pittenger Student Center on the campus of Ball State University. You can catch us every Monday around noon as we break down usually Ball State football. We are broadcast on YouTube, on the Chirp Cast podcast feed, and on the ISC Sports Network across the state of Indiana. Today we started with Ball State men's basketball coach James Whitford, and we will move on to Ball State women's volleyball coach Kelli Miller Phillips now. You are the 7th best mid-major team in the country. How do you feel?
Well, that's a nice way to word it. It feels good. I think our team is playing well. We're developing confidence each and every week out, and we're just trying to take it one day at a time right now.
I was going to say, for you, you're trying to take it one day at a time. For me, I'm sitting here like, you guys are so great. Have you thought about how amazing you are? But let's talk about this past week, because that was like the gauntlet. You guys, and really even before that, you had a stretch of 4 matches where you played the other 3 best teams in the conference. You go undefeated, and you end that stretch knocking off the reigning champions who had been undefeated in conference in 3 sets in front of a raucous Worthen Arena. What was the environment like, first and foremost, for you guys Thursday night?
Thursday night was fantastic. We had an unbelievable crowd, and from Ball State support, from community support, from student support, I mean, it was across the board, and I think that meant a lot to my team, and that meant a lot to me and the girls, and gave us just that extra bit of confidence that we needed for that home court advantage. And then I felt like we were locked in from point one. I mean, we were on a mission. We knew, and Bowling Green is an unbelievable team. We were going to have to play well the entirety of the entire match, and we did that, but it was a huge, huge part of the advantage we got from our crowd.
Did you feel it? Like, I could tell from the first 2 points of the night that this is going to be a really fun, loud, raucous environment. Did that energy, like, do players block that out? Do you block that out?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think there's certainly a level of focus and flow that you're in where you're just kind of doing what you normally do. But at the same time, there's this adrenaline that gets it's just undeniable. I mean, there were some huge swings on both sides, big digs, and you just hear the crowd roaring, and that just gets you more and more excited, more pumped up. And I think the girls fed off that in a good way, and that's something you have to learn to do when you're playing in championship type of environment, is how to handle that and how to use that to your advantage. And I thought we did a good job with that.
Take me inside your mind as a coach, especially when your team is playing really well, because like typically when you guys are rocking and rolling and you swept the weekend, you won in 3 sets, both Friday and Saturday. I said Thursday, both Friday and Saturday night. Usually there's a modicum of excitement, but if you're watching this at home, if you look on the sidelines and look over at Coach Kelli Phillips during, like, her team is routing somebody, her demeanor will look something like this. What is running through your mind in those moments? Because you're such an analytical, live in the moment type person. How do you break down a game like that when your team's cruising?
Well, I try to take nothing for granted, because I know, especially in volleyball, I mean, every single set, the momentum can completely shift. And so you can be up and have a great first 2 sets, and it doesn't matter. You got to completely shut that off and reset and play 1 point at a time. And I think that is the uniqueness of volleyball compared to a lot of other sports. I mean, if you have a great first half, you have this huge advantage, you can kind of coast and finish. That is not the case at all in volleyball. You have to completely play every single point as its own until it's finished. There's no time limit. It's just going to go and go and go until you earn them all. And so I think that that's one thing that just myself as a player have always been somebody that's just, it's not over till it's over, taking it 1 point at a time, and knowing how great our conference is and everybody that we're playing. I don't take anybody lightly, any point lightly, until we get that final 3-set win, and then I can breathe after that.
All right, so you led me right into it, because twice this year you guys have had match point by your opponent, won both of those matches, and on Friday you were down late in both the second and the third set. You won both of them. What is it about your group that never says die?
Well, I do think we have an experienced group that's played a lot of volleyball, and I also think they take on some of that same personality of the fact that it's just one at a time. And we have been fortunate enough to have some experience in those moments, and we practice a lot of games where it's tight at the end and you have to play clean and you have to continue to earn them. And like you said, you've been on both sides of the coin where you're right there. It's not over till it's over. And the same is true if you're down. And I think our ball control and our experienced players allow us just to stay in the course, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then when you've had some success in those matches, that really kind of gives you more and more confidence as you face those type of situations again.
It was funny talking to you last week, because I said to you, how good are you? I didn't know what the answer was going to be. Usually coaches are really modest with that. And you were like, no, I think we're pretty good. We built this team to be this team. Yeah. And it has, to this point, fulfilled that prophecy and that destiny. What is it about this group that has set it up to be as successful as it has been? I don't know how Brad Caudill, your SID is right in front of us. I don't know how the stat has changed, but going into the week, you were one of 6 teams in the country with 20 wins. Why? How'd that all come to be?
Well, I think we have worked, and we had the players here that have worked really hard to put themselves in this position. And I think we had a huge group in a 2019 class that we have ridden on them hard, and now they are juniors and they just have a ton of experience. They've played a ton of volleyball, and with them we've just added some other key pieces. We have a freshman setter that's doing a phenomenal job running our offense. We've had a couple transfers that have come in and just added more layers to our initial piece, and I just think we have a group that just loves playing together. They just enjoy working, and we don't look a ton at stats. We don't look a ton at what the numbers are. We're proud of that, but then we go back right to work, right. And that's just our personality.
And that's funny, because we're talking about all the success your team has had this year, win or lose at the end of the day. Great season. And you're saying they're all juniors. You lose like 2 people at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of comforting as a coach. You're building for the long term, and you're trying to stack classes and create a program. So, like in the micro, you look at this year, but you guys have whiteboards and you have the macro, and have to be really proud about how this has all come together.
For sure. And I think that's our job as coaches. That's the one piece that we have a little bit control over, is our recruiting and making sure there's shifts and movements. And there's a ton of things that you can't control. And that's going to continue to be the case, whether that's injuries or, heaven forbid, any other things like that. But all you can do is try to plan the best that you can. I think our 22 class, which will be signing very soon, is a great, strong class that will continue to build. And that's what we've done. We have a core group, and we've just tried to build and build and keep adding layers. And that's all you can do as coach.
So here's the rundown for the week. Football is on the road. They'll take on Akron tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Then we told you both basketballs are in action Wednesday night inside Worthen Arena. Thursday night and Friday night, they belong to you. Volleyball will be inside Worthen Arena. So it's a 6:30 first service for both the Thursday night and the Friday night match. That is the last time, hopefully not, but as of right now, the last time you can catch Ball State at home, coming up on Thursday and Friday against Central Michigan, then 3 more matches after that, and then hopefully it's the Mid-American Conference Tournament, fingers crossed, knock on wood. This might be for Micah, I don't know. Knock on the nearest hard surface. You guys will host the MAC tournament coming up at the end of November. How big a deal is that for you to have now put yourself in that position and to play from the front as opposed to having to chase, which is what you guys were doing until this past weekend?
I think we talk about that all the time. We've talked about that from the very beginning. You have to give yourself an opportunity, and then the match is going to be played, and may the best team win when that time comes. But we've at least put ourselves in position for the opportunity that we want. We have an opportunity to be able to host. We have an opportunity to have first. We have an opportunity, and that's all you can ask for. And then the game's played, and may the best team win. And I think that's just the perspective you must have. But I mean, I'm very, very excited about that opportunity to be able to maintain that. But we have to finish out these next 5 playing really strong and no let-ups and continuing to build our confidence, our just overall games, and making sure that we're playing our best volleyball come MAC tournament time.
Would you almost, is it better to have it play out the way that it had? Or, do you almost wish that maybe you don't take over that first place ledger until the end? Is it harder now to play with that pressure? Or now do you really see what you're made of when you're out in front, the X is now clearly on your back, and there isn't a margin to slip up to keep that goal? And obviously you want to host a tournament, you want to win the tournament, but you want to win the regular season as well. So to win the championship, it's now all in your hands.
I don't think so, because I felt like we still had that same feeling going into this week, knowing that there's no margin for error when you've got great teams like Bowling Green, right, and no matter who you're playing, if you're playing them or not. And so I think we have been writing that and living in that this whole entire time, and not putting too much emphasis on that. All you can do is play that match ahead of you. And I think we're continuing to do that. I mean, we talk a lot about championship mentality, and you have to learn how to play in that. You have to learn how to play from the front. You have to learn how to win tight games when people are targeting you. And that's just part of this experience that I think our girls are doing a fantastic job of handling and maintaining composure, and we're going to have to continue to do that as we finish the season.
Kelli, I'm looking forward to it. Friday night was amazing. It was an awesome atmosphere. Saturday was good too, but Friday was electric. So looking forward to 2 more of that this weekend, and then hopefully 3 more of that in a couple of weeks' time. But thanks for coming by. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Joel.
And that is Kelli Phillips joining us here on the Birdfeed Live. James Whitford joining us as well. Mike New will be back with Bryce Cosby next week to hopefully break down Ball State's win against Akron tomorrow night. That does it, though, for us here on this Monday. It's the Birdfeed Live presented by Varsity House on YouTube, the ISC Sports Network, and on demand on the Chirp Cast podcast feed. Take care, everyone.
Chirp, chirp.
This was the Varsity House Bird Feed on the Ball State Gamebridge Network.